It is also noteworthy that the Civil Service Commission recognized NEA for adopting its Prime HR and received the Prime HRM Bronze Award Maturity Level 2. Moreover, NEA was able to maintain its existing ISO 9001-2015 certification, adhering to the principle of good governance, and was awarded as a top 3 ranking GOCC in fiscal year 2023 Corporate Governance Scorecard for GOCC. Lastly, NEA attained an overall customer satisfaction score of 96.8%. In compliance with President Marcos Jr.'s Directive of Total Electrification by 2028, NEA holds steadfast its 3-pronged strategy comprising of Sitio Electrification Program, Barangay Line Enhancement Program for grid extension, and PV mainstreaming as an off-grid solution or for those areas that are not reached by the grid. The table shows updated electrification plan, funding of which still requires subsidy appropriation of 61 billion to implement projects from 2026 to 2028. With those accomplishments, they assures the government that we continue to provide essential services and that our fiscal year 2026 budget will be utilized accordingly. As presented in the slide, the NEA's budget as contained in the NEP and as categorized by expense class are as follows: 63% for maintenance and other operating expenses, which include subsidy from national government for rural electrification, in the amount of 5.6 billion for the connection of approximately 93,849 households through the implementation of the strategized rural electrification and operational reliability for ECs and ESSERs, and administrative and financial expenses of 314 million. 28% for capital outlay, which covers loans for EC's capex and other financial requirements of 2.6 billion, and procurement of office equipment, ICT, technical equipment, and motor vehicles that needed for its operation in the amount of 48 million. The 9% is for personal services cost of 517 million for 348 plantilla positions and 337 million for the separation benefits of NEA employees who were legally separated in 2003 by virtue of RA 9136 or the EPIRA law. Next slide, please. As to fund source, 60% of the NEA's budget will be sourced from the national government for its electrification projects, 8% as equity contribution from the government, and 32% from NEA internally generated funds or corporate funds, which will cover its operational expenditures. Comparatively, our fiscal year 2026 is 12% higher than fiscal year 2025 GAA due to the increase in budgetary support from the government and our provision for loan releases to ECs. NEA appreciates the DBM's recommended subsidy level for electrification projects for fiscal year 2026 as we aim to achieve at least 92% electrification level by 2026. We hope to secure the remaining 24.32 billion or 81% of our proposed budget, which will energize approximately 505,413 more households. To affirm, next slide please. To affirm that NEA can effectively utilize and maximize its proposed budget, we humbly present the NEA's recent financial performance. For 2024, subsidy appropriation, NEA utilized 98% of its allotments for program projects, 72% of which was already disbursed to ECs. For SEP alone, NEA already reached 98% obligation and 80% disbursement rate. Notwithstanding the provision stated in the 24 GAA wherein subsidies released to GOCCs shall be valid until fully expended, NEA is committed to fully disburse the subsidies immediately. All projects are on track except for the installation of the solar power system in Zamboanga City, in which the NEA had encountered some delays in the EC's submission of documents. However, we are still committed to fully obligate the funds by end of 2025. For the year 2025, NEA's overall utilization rate is already at 93%, and is on track to reach 100% utilization rate by 2025, by end of 2025. 4 months from the receipt of SARO in May in the amount of 3.6 billion, the NEA already obligated 91% of its allotments and disbursed 27% to ECs. Majority of projects are still undergoing implementation. Nonetheless, the NEA is projecting disbursement rate of 51% by end of 2025. As to the remaining projects, the SARO of which was only received in August 2025, projects are still undergoing procurement. To meet our expenditure targets in 2025, NEA will continue to adopt the following catch-up plans as indicated. For our corporate financial report, for our corporate financial targets rather, for fiscal year 2025, charges to budget already reached 73% for in-house expenditures, collected 99.5% of EC's loan amortizations due, and released loans to ECs at 1.98 billion pesos. We would like to emphasize that NEA's financing scheme contributed to the revenue of NEA, which financed the agency's operating expenses. NEA as a GOCC primarily sources its revenues from the interest income earned in its lending function. For the status of COA audit in its examination of NEA's operations for the current year 2024, the Commission on Audit raised concerns regarding the agency's treatment of engineering, administrative, and overhead expenses, the EAO, from calendar year 2011 to 2024. Due to these concerns, COA issued a qualified audit opinion on the fairness of the presentations of NEA's financial statements as of December 31, 2024. Alongside, COA issued 127 audit observation memoranda, 100 of which were fully implemented, complied with, while 22 AOMs are still under monitoring as to the management full compliance of the 102 audit recommendations as embodied in the issued 2024 annual audit report. Out of the 102 audit recommendations, 53 were fully implemented, while 49 are either ongoing or partially implemented as of September 2025. To provide flexibility and to fast-track implementation of projects, we appeal for modification in the special provisions set forth in the NEP. In this slide, we appeal that the engineering and administrative overhead be treated as operational revenues in NEA's books. This is to cover funding requirement for all operational expenses of organic positions dedicated to the monitoring, supervision, evaluation, and liquidation of government subsidy projects, considering that NEA is facing a lot of government subsidy projects compared to prior years. NEA is wholly dependent on its operational and service income in funding its mandate. The exclusion of EAW in NEA's income will greatly hamper its capacity to properly and timely implement the Rural Electrification Program. In fact, the NEA has been forced to stop the hiring of additional personnel, adversely affecting the timely implementation of the government projects. NEA submitted its letter requesting consideration for the modification of special provision to House of Representatives and the Senate of the Philippines on September 2, 2025. Also, we request to include the provision that the NEA can release calamity funds to ECs even with unliquidated subsidies from regular electrification projects. Further, we appeal to add that in justifiable cases, NEA may conduct the bidding and or release the funds to the project implementer other than the subject ECs. Lastly, we appealed for the retention of the special provision on augmentation beyond the approved COB to provide NEA more flexibility in the use of available funds. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. We recognize the chairperson of the Committee on Energy, Senator Pia Cayetano. Next will be NPC, and it's good to see you, Jericho. Kala ko sa tobacco ka lang ngayon. Diesel na linalanghap mo.
Buti naman, lumipat na.
Diesel engines na ngayon ang naaamoy mo ngayon. Missionary electricity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. I'm happy and proud to be the president of the National Power Corporation. Senator Marcoleta, Senator Cayetano, Senator Ejercito. I'm honored to present the NAPOCOR budget to the Honorable Committee. We will first go through the summary of accomplishments presented per 4 mandates of NAPOCOR. Hindi lang po kami diesel, Mr. Chair. So our first mandate is to provide power where no one else will go. We operate in 168 islands. That's 181 power plants serving 5.3 million Filipinos and giving a dependable capacity of 193 megawatts. We have 14 substations with a total substation capacity of 225 MVA, and we provide 1,173.92 circuit kilometers for Filipino users free of charge. On our second mandate, protecting nature's battery, this is our watershed management. We have 11 watershed areas, and for this year, 2025 alone, we have rehabilitated 550 hectares, which added amount to a total coverage of 147,434 hectares of our watersheds that total 485,000 hectares. This 2025 addition of 550 hectares added 3,850 tons of carbon sequestration. I want to emphasize that here in our watershed management, while certain groups would talk about the diesel plants of NAPOCOR, I'd like to highlight that our carbon footprint is 455,000 metric tons per year, but our watersheds offset this carbon footprint because we offset it with 35.8 million metric tons. So ang footprint po namin 455,000, pero ang balik po namin sa aming watershed ay 35.8 million. In our third pillar, which is propelling clean energy, we have 12 dams where we do this delicate balance of controlled spilling operations. We make sure that the dams have adequate water and hindi po kami magsispill that will affect communities downstream.